He's sick.
You're selfish, Mom screamed, slamming her hand on the table. Giving him my scholarship money, $45,000, my savings, even Grandma's bonds, meant sacrificing my future. 10 years later, they found me through Forbes. You're our last hope, they said. I looked at my medical empire and decided to make them wait in the lobby like every other visitor. No special treatment. No rush meetings. They could sit with their choices while I finished saving lives that actually wanted to be saved. Dr. Marrow, your 3 p.m. is here, my assistant announced through the intercom. Thank you, Patricia. Have them fill out the standard forms. I'll be there when I'm done here. I turned back to my patient, a 7-year-old fighting leukemia, with more courage than my brother ever showed. Her parents' eyes held the familiar mix of hope and terror I'd seen thousands of times. They'd sold everything, moved across the country, fought insurance companies, all for her chance at life. The new treatment protocol is showing remarkable results, I told them. We'll start tomorrow. The mother burst into tears. The father grabbed my hand. Thank you, Dr. Marrow. Thank you for not giving up on her. I never gave up on patients who fought back. It was the ones who chose their disease over life, like my brother Danny, that I'd learned to let go. 10 years ago, I was 18 valedictorian with a full scholarship to Johns Hopkins pre-med. Everything was planned, earned through late nights and perfect grades, the first Marrow to escape our small Kentucky town. Then Danny came home high again, crashing his car into a family's minivan. Thank God no one died, but the lawsuits were immediate and justified. My parents' panic was palpable. We need that scholarship money, Dad said at the kitchen table, not meeting my eyes.
What? No.
That's for college, for medical school. I earned that. Your brother needs rehab, good rehab, not the state-funded kind. He's been to rehab 3 times. He left AMA every time. This time is different, Mom insisted. He promises he wants to get clean. He promised last time. And the time before. And when he stole Grandma's cancer medication. He's sick. You're selfish. Mom screamed, her hand striking the table. He's not dying. He's choosing. Every day, he chooses drugs over us. Addiction is a disease, but so is cancer. Cancer patients don't steal from their families to buy more tumors. The slap was swift and shocking. Mom had never hit me before. We're taking the money, Dad said quietly. It's decided. You can take out loans like everyone else. You mean like Danny was supposed to before he dropped out and spent his loan money on pills? Enough. Dad's voice was final. Family comes first. Always. But I wasn't family. I was a resource, a well to drain when Danny's choices created another crisis. They took it all, my scholarship, my savings, Grandma's bonds. Danny went to a luxury rehab that looked more like a spa. He left after 9 days. I went to Johns Hopkins anyway, drowning in loans, working every job I could find, pre-med on no sleep and ramen noodles, studying in supply closets during hospital janitor shifts, tutoring rich kids who complained about their easy lives while I calculated if I could afford both food and textbooks. My parents never called, never asked how I was surviving. When I reached out once, desperate and hungry, Mom said, "We're broke from Danny's legal fees. Maybe if you'd helped your brother instead of abandoning him." I hung up and never called again. Danny cycled through arrests, rehabs, and relapses. Each time, my parents drained their retirement, borrowed against the house, begged relatives. Each time, they blamed everyone but Danny. The doctors didn't understand him. The rehabs were too harsh. Society had failed their precious boy. Meanwhile, I graduated summa cum laude, got into Harvard Medical School, and specialized in addiction medicine. Ironic, yes. If I couldn't save my brother, maybe I could save someone else's. But I learned something crucial. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Enabling isn't love, it's slow-motion murder. After residency, I developed a revolutionary treatment protocol combining medication-assisted treatment with genetic therapy. It had an 85% success rate for patients who wanted recovery. Venture capitalists threw money at me. Marrow Medical grew from one clinic to an empire spanning 15 states. We'd saved thousands, real saves, not the temporary fixes Danny preferred. People who chose life over addiction, who did the hard work, who valued the second chance. Which brought me to now, standing outside the conference room, looking through the glass at parents I hadn't seen in a decade. They looked old, shrunken. Mom's designer clothes were knockoffs. Dad's suit was threadbare. Danny wasn't with them, probably too high to make the trip, or maybe they'd learned bringing him to beg was counterproductive. I entered without knocking. They stood, hope and shame warring on their faces. "Vivian," Mom breathed. "You look successful." "Dr. Marrow," I corrected. "You have 15 minutes. What do you want?" "That's no way to greet your parents." "You're right. Parents would have called once in 10 years. Parents would have asked if their daughter was eating while working 3 jobs. Parents would have chosen their child's future over their other child's 15th second chance. So, what do you want, Mr. and Mrs. Marrow?" Dad flinched. "We saw the article.
Forbes.
Your company. We're proud of you." "No, you're desperate. There's a difference." "Danny's dying," Mom blurted out. "Really dying this time. His liver is failing his kidneys. The doctors say 6 months without treatment. And treatment costs money you don't have because you spent it all on previous treatments he walked away from. You have no idea what we've been through. Whose scholarship money started this cycle? Whose future did you sacrifice for his choices?" Silence. "What do you want?" I repeated. "The best facility. The best doctors. You own them, the article said so. Please, Vivian, he's your brother." "No, he's your son. I'm just the daughter you discarded when she couldn't be liquidated for his benefit anymore. That's not fair." "Fair." I laughed, sharp and bitter. Fair would have been letting me use my scholarship for education instead of Danny's 9th luxury rehab. Fair would have been one phone call asking if I was okay. Fair would have been choosing the child who was fighting to succeed over the one who was fighting to die. We love both our children. You love Danny. You utilized me. There's a difference. Dad's shoulders slumped. "What will it take?" "For what? For me to pay for another rehab he'll leave? To watch you enable him to death with my resources instead of yours? To save his life?" I save lives every day, people who want to be saved, who do the work, who value the gift. I pulled out my phone, showing them statistics. My clinics have an 85% success rate. Know why? Because we screen for readiness, for commitment, for the choice to live. "You want us to screen Danny?" Mom begged. "Please, just evaluate him." I considered this, not for them, but for the data. Danny would be a perfect example of what we didn't treat. The unwilling, the enabled, the ones who viewed rehab as a timeout, not a transformation.
Fine.
Bring him to the Milwaukee clinic tomorrow at 9 a.m. He'll go through standard assessment. If, and only if, he meets our criteria, we'll discuss treatment. But those are my terms, non-negotiable. And understand this. We don't do luxury rehab. We do medical treatment. It's hard, painful, and requires absolute commitment. One violation, one missed session, one excuse, and he's out. You'd throw out your own brother? You threw out your own daughter. At least I'd be doing it to save his life, not enable his death. They agreed. What choice did they have? Danny showed up the next morning, skeletal and shaking but also angry, entitled, put upon by the very idea of assessment. "This is BS," he slurred to the intake counselor. "My sister owns this place. I shouldn't have to jump through hoops." He failed every metric. Motivation, 0. Accountability, none. When asked why he wanted treatment, he said, "Because my parents won't get off my back." When asked about previous rehabs, he blamed everyone but himself. The counselors were mean, the rules were stupid, the other patients were worse than him. "I'm sorry, I told my parents in my office after. He doesn't meet our criteria. But you're his sister, which is why I know he's not ready. You've cushioned every consequence, paid for every mistake, blamed everyone but him. He doesn't want recovery. He wants you to stop bothering him about it. So, you'll just let him die?" "No. You'll let him die by continuing to enable, by refusing to let him hit bottom, by teaching him there's always another rescue coming." I handed them a list. These are free programs. They're not comfortable. They're not easy. But they work for people who want to work. He won't go to those places. Then he's an addict. And until he accepts that, no program will work. Mom started sobbing. Dad looked defeated. But for the first time in 20 years, they looked at each other instead of blaming the world. We did this, Dad said quietly. We chose him over everything. Over you, over ourselves, over his own recovery. Yes. Can you forgive us? I thought about the hungry nights, the loneliness, the rage that fueled my success. Maybe someday. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting, and it doesn't mean funding your continued enabling. They left without Danny getting treatment, but something had shifted. A month later, they called. They'd kicked him out, stopped paying for lawyers, stopped cushioning his falls. He hates us, Mom said. Says we're heartless. You're saving his life, even if he can't see it. 3 months after that, Danny called me directly from jail, not for bail money, but to ask about our jail treatment program. Why now? I asked. Because Mom won't bail me out. Dad won't pay for a lawyer. And I'm tired, Viv. So tired of this life. Dr. Marrow, I corrected. And being tired isn't enough. What are you willing to do? Whatever it takes. We'll see. He entered our program 2 weeks later, not the executive suite my parents had wanted, but the jail-based program that required accountability. He struggled, complained, almost quit twice. But he stayed because, for the first time, someone had said no. Someone had refused to enable. Someone had loved him enough to let him suffer the consequences of his choices. He's been clean 2 years now, works as a counselor in one of my clinics, lives in a small apartment, pays his own bills, makes his own choices. We have dinner once a month, not as the siblings we were, but as the adults we've become. My parents are rebuilding too, their marriage, their finances, their understanding of love versus enabling. They volunteer at family support groups, sharing their story as a warning. We had 2 children, Mom tells the groups. We nearly lost both by choosing the sickness over the solution. Last week, she called to thank me. For what? I asked. For being stronger than us. For succeeding despite us. For showing us that real love sometimes means saying no. I'd built a medical empire on that principle. Save those who choose salvation, let go of those who choose sickness, and never confuse enabling with love. My parents had chosen my addict brother over me. 10 years later, when they wanted me to do the same, I'd chosen differently. I'd chosen to save us all by refusing to save him from himself. In the end, that refusal was the only medicine that worked. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can say to an addict isn't yes, it's no. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for enabling parents is show them what they've become by holding up a mirror made of consequences. They'd screamed I was selfish for wanting my own future. Turns out, that selfishness saved us all.